Will he cheat? Sometimes when you're a really successful businesswoman and you make a lot of money, you also have really a lot of skills that are so good at business that can translate into a lot of danger in a relationship. Let me explain. When you are a high achieving successful woman, you know how to problem solve, you know how to see people's issues and diffuse them, you know how to create a workspace that makes you feel in control, where you have power, where you know how to get things done, and where you're like kind of leading yourself into this direction. And that is amazing in a business, but the same skills that can scale a business can also destroy a relationship. Let me explain. When you're in a relationship and you're so good at fixing things and you're so good at solutions and you're so good at problem solving, a lot of the times what happens is that when your relationship has problems, instead of saying, is this healthy? Is this what I want? Is this right for me? You go, ooh, how can I fix this? How can I help him heal? How can I change my behavior so that we have less conflict? How can I learn better skill sets in my communication or avoid things so that there's less problems with his rage, his behavior, his drinking, his alcoholism, how late he stays at work, if he's going to speak to other women. And so you literally take the great skill sets for money and put them into relationships and destroy that sense of self inside of you when you're behind closed doors. Because if you're trying to problem solve too much, what that does is mean that you've already taken the blame. You're already seeing the situation and his unhealthy behaviors, and you're kind of making them seem subconsciously like it's your fault. And while in a business, that's amazing to take responsibility for the problems of the business. You can really see what needs to get fixed, take responsibility, and scale. But if you're doing that in a relationship where you're like, I just need to see how I can make this better, how I can heal him, how I can wait for him, how I can help him with his issues, like you are literally becoming a subconscious doormat for the inconsistencies that he will then walk over you in. And so it's a really important skill set to understand what your strengths are, but how they appear in relationships versus business and whether they are good or not. Because a real relationship that's healthy is stable, consistent, and predictable. And a relationship that's not healthy is inconsistent, not stable, and not predictable. And I want to give you guys a really good example because I was just hosting somebody on a podcast, and basically this person was making a lot of money, but the relationship that she was in was causing her a lot of distress. And when she first went out on the date with him, he showed up late. And what does that mean? She said, well, he didn't care about my feelings. He was inconsiderate. He showed up late for the date because he didn't care that I, was pregnant and I didn't have dinner and all this stuff. And I was thinking and listening, and I repeated back to her, and she ended up still dating this guy and getting married to him. And 17 years later, after a long, painful life, got divorced with kids with him. 17 years, guys. If you don't learn this training, decades can go by just like that. And anyway, she's on this date, and I was like, you didn't care that you didn't have dinner. You didn't care about your time. You didn't care about your worth. You didn't care the fact that you needed to eat and get out of there and not spend 3 hours waiting for someone. And even if somebody is 30 minutes late, even if somebody is an hour late to a date, if they don't communicate in advance and give you consent. So, hey, so-and-so, I just want you to know I'm going to be 30 minutes or an hour late. Is that still okay with you given your schedule tonight? If they don't give you information plus consent in advance, they don't care. They're not considering you, your schedule, and your needs. And so if you're not educated and informed, you can be like, oh, whatever, shit happens. Who would want me anyways? I'm single, I'm 40, I'm overweight, I have a kid, I'm pregnant. Like, I should just be lucky that I have someone in my life right now who's interested. Like, I should just go on the date and be happy and find the good. No, you should be honest with your worth, because even if you're older or overweight or have a kid or whatever, you are worthy of a stable life, of a kind life, of a happy life, of a blessed life, of a peaceful life. And if you don't first know that inside of yourself, guess what? You're going to attract someone who doesn't know that either about you. And the most important thing to know is your worth, and to know that you don't attract what you want, you attract who you are. So it's not about other people disrespecting you. It's about whether you allow the disrespect behavior to be a part of your life in your relationships, and then you give it excuses like, well, it's okay because everyone's busy, or he's late, or there was a snowstorm or traffic, or I'm just so glad he's doing something with his life. If you give excuses for poor behavior, then what you're doing is you're allowing yourself to be vulnerable to be abused. And abuse really does start off subtle and get worse over time, but still call it abuse. Don't give it a name like stress. I'm stressed. I'm confused. I'm not sure. If you're so stressed and if you're so confused and if you're not sure about the beginning of the relationship and how he's showing up from the get-go, bro, I'm telling you that's abuse. Why can I use such a strong word for something that seems kind of like nuanced? Well, here's the thing. A man who doesn't consider your needs, he's not going to consider them in the beginning. He's not going to consider them later on. And a man who doesn't consider your needs is essentially emotional and like psychological neglect, which turns into abuse because you're constantly drained, confused, and anxious. And a relationship like that does get worse over time and often leads to addiction, addictive behavior, him cheating, you getting more mental health issues, him, leaving you, or whatever it is, whatever the real abuse happens later when he does hit you or cheat on you. It's like, bro, he showed you that from the get-go. Like, bro, he showed you that when he was late on the first date and didn't even ask you if that's okay, or didn't even inform you that he's gonna be late. Like, bro, he already showed you his true colors. And I want to tell you something that like blows my mind. Dating coaches, who are like 99% of dating coaches, right? So what are they? They're beautiful, wonderful, sweet, high, good intention women, and they absolutely have no psychological background. They have absolutely no psychological skills on what is addiction, narcissism, abuse, any of that look like, right? So what they're doing is they're coming at you with a lot of good intention. Hey, Agron. But what they're not coming to you is with a lot of research. And so if you really want to understand how to not attract someone who's going to abuse you, here's a little tip. Get yourself high self-esteem, like really, really high self-esteem, because an abusive man or woman will only align with you if you're already abusing yourself. If you're already saying, I should be lucky that this person wants me. It's okay that they're late, or that they're this, or that they're that. I should just be grateful. It's not that bad. My other ex was worse. If you are already making excuses for unacceptable behavior from the get-go, I promise you that behavior is worse. And whether you have good intentions or not, if you don't have the actual research, the observable behaviors on what addiction and narcissism looks like, you don't actually know how to give the person the right advice. Like, divorce is a good thing if the guy's an addict. Divorce is a good thing if the guy's a narcissist. Divorce is a good thing if he's freaking cheating on you and ruining your life, right? Like, and that also comes in dating. Like, don't date someone, leave someone, end the relationship. Don't try to make it work with someone where it's not working. And if the relationship patterns are going to show you that it's not going to continue to work, because you can work out all day, you can over-exercise, you can overwork, you can go to the gym, you can get all the things straight that make you feel like your life is still together. But if your relationship at home behind closed doors isn't as successful as other parts of your life that you're showing the world, well, you're sad, and you don't deserve to be sad, and you don't deserve to be lonely, and you don't deserve to feel like there's no one really out there for you. Like, you deserve a life where you have so much support and love and guidance and someone to share in your life and your values and your belief systems. And the first way to get that done is to love yourself, to increase your worth, to not make excuses for people's behavior, to get really clear on who you are and what you want and become that. If you are not clear on who you are and what your values are and what your piss-offs are and what you want, irregardless of what everyone else tells you, how are you going to know who to attract and who to say no to? Because the bigger game of attracting epic love is not just going out on a lot of dates. It's not paying matchmakers. It's realizing that you attract not what you want, but who you are, and how to let go of all the other people who are not right for you. Hi, Yosef. So learning how to be kind to yourself, learning what the signs are. Like, if you're not sober, if you're not stable in yourself, then you will find attraction in someone who's also not sober and stable, because we don't like things that are different from us. We find familiarity and chemistry in people who are similar to us, but sometimes that similarity, if it's lack of sobriety, of lack of spirituality, or lack of stability, is what we're attracting. And so we have to ask ourselves, like, how much am I loving up on myself? How much do I feel like someone, would just be, I would be lucky to just have someone? How much am I really honoring my feelings? What are my feelings? Have I sat down and journaled lately? Have I asked myself what I'm really happy about in my life and what I'm really sad about? Have I sat down and got really clear on the vision of the type of relationship that would bring me the greatest joy, and then feel safe enough with myself and God to release all that's not right for me? Learning how to love yourself, learning the skills of dating training, learning the skills of relationship training, acceptance and forgiveness. These are powerful tools that you invest in yourself to learn, that you take into every other relationship of your life. So if you're a businesswoman who has 6, 7, or 8 figures and you want to join a program that is small because I am selective, because this process is about you and not just being amongst a group or networking, but about having a secret space for you to go deep and go heal and go raw and go real so that you can attract your dream partner and your epic love, then send me that DM mastermind and let's go. Because your life, it's not about when you feel ready. It's about the cost of inaction. If you don't take enough action to invest in yourself now before relationships come, how are you actually going to know how to attract the right one and let go of the ones who are not right for you, or communicate to the people you're even speaking to about exactly what you want that can't just be generalizable? So many times, hi Paula. Paula asked me a question. Let's bring you on video. Let's see if that even works. If you communicate to other people exactly what you're looking for, that's not generalizable, right? So if you just say, I want a guy that's cute and funny and sweet, who has a good heart, like that could be anyone. If you say you want someone who, it's okay, Paula, I love you, Paula. I'm so glad you're here. If you are able to communicate that you want somebody in a specific age range that's careful with their communication, that has a stable job, that has a stable finances, that is ready for commitment, that wants a family or doesn't want a family, that still wants to have kids or doesn't want to have kids. Like, if you get so clear that it can't just be anyone with who you want, that you're able to communicate that to people, that means you've done the work. Let's say you're Christian or Jewish or Muslim or Buddhist, and you specifically want someone who shares in your spiritual path, then you can't just say, I want a nice guy or a nice girl that's gonna be sweet and kind and funny. Like, you gotta say, this is my religion, this is my faith, this is my heritage, this is my culture, this is my desire and my values of how I want to live my life. And be so clear that other men couldn't fit into that form of category, then you know you've done the work. And if people start calling you picky, that's when you know you've done the work. When you have too many people calling you picky, that's how you know you've done the work. That's how you know you've sifted the bullshit through. And you're not just looking for a generic person to love you and be with you. You know who works for you and who doesn't work for you. So much so that you communicate that enough that the wrong people call you picky. Like, you should be proud. You should be like, dang, I did it. I did it. I communicated it so clearly that I scared people who don't know how to be specific enough to know who they are and how to create their dream life, that they think I'm picky. Like, I've done it. If you just reframe the way that you perceive other people's reactions to you, that's the game, man. Because so many people are going to tell you you're too old, too picky, too young, too fat, too religious, too this. Like, but if you know so clearly what you want and you learned how to love yourself enough to know that you deserve a good life of that, man, you should feel so proud. And if you haven't yet done that, pull out a pen and paper and ask yourself, who do I really need, and who would not fit into that picture? What do I really want, and who would not fit into that really want? And make a list, make a non-negotiable list. They have to live in the same state or live in the same country or be willing to relocate. They have to be willing to want kids or not want kids. They have to be willing to get married, not just date long term. They have to be the same faith or the same religion. They have to be, speaking the same language. They have to, not want me to relocate to their country, but actually live, where I want to live and live the same life that I want to live in a daily practical application. Like, Get clear, because the more you get clear, the more you get there. And then the more you learn how to love yourself, the more you can hold that faith and that truth. So, guys, I love you guys. And if you are interested in joining the Epic Love Mastermind, there is a few spots left, and definitely join up. It is life changing, life changing. These skills are so transferable and they make every part of your life better. So, I look forward to seeing you there. If you have any questions, always send me a DM. Happy to make my relationship skills your relationship love life. Peace.